All right, what is going on, everyone? We got another weekly Shonen Jump stream. Um, Unfortunately, we don't have any One Piece today. One Piece will not be back for another 2 weeks, which is all right. We can wait. But we do have Kagurabachi today, and like I said last week, Kagurabachi, I knew something was up with Mr. Samura, and what do you know? Something's up with Mr. Samura. So we're going to start with Kagurabachi today. If you are not caught up on Kagurabachi, then you might want to come back. We will read Kagurabachi, then we'll probably read Ichi the Witch. I want to see what the new chapter for that is. Then we'll definitely read some Akane Banashi. And then if we have time, maybe we'll read... What else do we have? Ooh, maybe we'll read the new manga today, Sidcraft, Love is a Mystery. That looks pretty cool. I do want to start reading Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi and Astro Royale, but I am still a bit behind on those manga, so we'll wait to do that. But we'll give everyone a few minutes before we get started. We never learn author returns? I'm not sure what you mean. Also, how's everyone doing today? I hope everyone has been having a fantastic weekend. I had a great day off yesterday. Made some dinner, watched some college football, and then I watched UFC last night, which was a crazy card. John Jones fought last night, and my guy just straight up heel kicked somebody in the liver. That was aggressive, to say the least. And now here we are, reading some Jump. One second. I'm a little discombobulated this morning because I was up till like 2 in the morning, so I only woke up like a few hours ago. Usually I'm up at the crack of dawn. Yeah. I was just about to say, Justin. I'm like, I'm not muted, am I? That was too funny. All right. Where are we? Who do we have in chat? We got Aiden in the chat. What's going on, Aiden? How you doing? So here's the deal. I am gonna go grab myself a nice tall glass of water, and as soon as I come back, we'll go ahead and take a look at Kagurabachi. So Nassim said, I've been really enjoying Bleach again. So I'll ask you, and then hopefully you answer by the time I get back. Are you anime only? Did you read the manga and now you're watching the anime? Like, where are you as far as the anime and the manga? I've been seeing some pretty mixed reviews of the anime, and I think that's only going to continue because I was doing the math, and like, if they adapt, let's say 6 chapters every episode for the rest of the core, they're only going to have like 20 chapters to adapt for the last 13 episodes, which means they would only adapt like one chapter an episode. So somewhere along the line, the episodes A are going to get really slow, and B, I think they're going to add a ton more so-called filler moments, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but a complaint I'm seeing is that Studio Pierrot is favoring additional content over manga accuracy, like canon material accuracy, which is not a completely invalid take, but I would like to see how the rest of this core plays out until I give any kind of opinion on that. Although I already know where I kind of stand, because, I mean, by the third core of this anime, I kind of already have an opinion on that. But, I mean, you know, people are already convinced where they are. Okay, so you actually have been liking the anime changes. I'm gonna go grab a glass of water and then I'll be right back. But I'm mixed. I don't think it's perfect, but I think the animation is pleasantly consistent. I do think some of the changes are weird. So for example, in the manga, all the like visored characters, like what's her name, Hiyori, and then Lisa, and all those characters, they show up like way earlier in the manga, and then in the anime they show up like really, really late, and I don't know why they do that. It's a very weird change. I would have to go back and rewatch the episodes to maybe rationalize that change, but it's like a seemingly unnecessary change. And I feel like that's kind of the theme with some of the changes besides all the additional content. How do I rank? So Pierrot, how do I rank between the big three, One Piece, Naruto, Bleach? Which order is your least to most favorite from the three, main character wise and overall wise? So I'll just say overall wise, and then I really do want to get this glass of water that I've been trying to get for like 10 minutes. As it stands right now, and this kind of changes depending on what kind of mood I'm in, but as it stands right now, I would say Naruto is my third favorite, Bleach is my second favorite, and One Piece is my all-time favorite. But like Bleach is like a hair away from One Piece. I mean, every time I reread Bleach, the anime is one thing, I'm mainly talking about the manga. Every time I reread Bleach, it just gets better and better. And the same is true for One Piece. But I mean, I find myself like really overlooking a lot of stuff in Bleach. Is there additional content that Bleach has added that you've enjoyed? I like all the additional Bankai stuff. I really liked the oh my god, what is his name? Of course. Oh, Ukitake. I really like the additional backstory they gave to Ukitake. I don't know if any of that was from the novels, but it wasn't presented at that point in the manga. I'm trying to think what else. I did think the like additional... I haven't seen this week's episode, so I can't speak to that. I did think the like extended fight between Uryu and Ichigo like 2 episodes ago was kind of weird. It wasn't bad, but it felt kind of pointless. All right, I'm going to answer this one last question, and then I really do want to get this glass of water. But we have a lot of good conversation going, so I don't want to leave people hanging. I started a new manga, Nine Peaks, has a similar idea as Tokyo Revengers, but according to opinions on the internet, it's better. But I haven't read enough to confirm. Well, people are very divisive about Tokyo Revengers, so I can understand where that's coming from. Speaking of Tokyo Revengers, like I said, I really need to catch up on Astro Royale, because that was getting really good when I stopped reading it a couple of months ago. All right, I'm getting some water, and then I'll be right back. But by all means, keep sending those questions, and I'll keep answering them. You're goddamn right, I need to hydrate. On that note, we're back. All right, let's read some Kagurabachi. Let's see where we are. All right, we are on chapter 58, which, so I said this at the beginning of the stream. I'll say it again. I kind of expected that this was going to happen. This is kind of like how they set it up. But it's good. I like it. I don't think it's overly, or I don't necessarily care that it was predictable, because this was executed really well in a fun way. So, can anyone remind me, who is the sword bearer for Kumeyuri? Is that Uraha? While we are reading Kagurabachi, I would like to pose this question to everyone in the chat. Have I tried Centuria on Manga Plus? No, but I heard it's supposed to be really good. Aiden said Uraha. Okay, so I was right. So Hakuri accidentally or Hakuri was unable to send Kumayuri to Uraha, which is why he lost this fight, which we'll get into. But I would like to pose a question to all of you beautiful people. So, do you hate one of these Bleach characters? And the reason I ask this is because I saw a lot of Twitter discourse, which, is always intellectual, always constructive, never toxic. I saw a lot of Twitter discourse after this week's Bleach episode about people really not liking Renji, and it somehow turned into people, completely trashing on Chad, which I didn't even think Chad was in this week's episode, but it just started this whole discourse of like so-called useless Bleach characters. So I'm kind of curious if there's a general trend in the community right now, especially with all the changes they're making in the anime. On that note, I do just want to leave that poll up there because I'm kind of curious what all of you beautiful intellectuals in the stream have to say on that. And by all means, if you have a theory as to why people reacted the way they did, I would love to hear that. Chad is saved by the memes. Honestly, I like Chad. I think the idea that he's a useless character, or that, he had like all of this crazy potential. Like, people have unrealistic expectations for the character. He already was not like a terribly important character in Hueco Mundo. So to have that kind of expectation by the time we get to Thousand Year Blood War, it's like you're not reading the same story. Like, you're reading your own fan fiction, in my opinion. Not to say that Chad is or should be irrelevant, but it's like he got perfectly good screen time in Thousand Year Blood War. Would it have been cool to see him get like a really cool fight? Sure, but like, what's the point? Also, to whoever votes someone else in the poll, by all means, please share who you don't like in Bleach if it's not one of these three characters, because I am curious. It seems like if someone says, oh, I hate such and such character, it's always one of those three. It's either Chad, Toshiro, or Renji. So that's what I'm saying. Now we got 4 votes, and one of them, so somebody, hates someone, but it's not one of those characters. So by all means, let me know who you think is your least favorite Bleach character. But we can get back to Kagurabachi. So we open the chapter, we cut back to, so we're looking at Chihiro's fight. The Hishaku character has Kumayuri. And then we cut back briefly, 7 minutes back in time, to Hakuri's group with the sword bearers, where basically they explain to him, like, good job doing what you did, but you can only do that so many times, and now you need to rest. And so they're walking, they're at the temple, and they're like, okay, we have both of the sword bearers and Mr. Samura's Tobi Mune, so there's no need to rush. And then all of a sudden, the characters are all asleep. Like, they've been knocked out. And then we cut to Samura and Uraha, where Uraha is either sitting down. He's like half sitting down. He says, "What's this all about?" So clearly he's not in on any of this, which I like that it's just one of the sword bearers that is seemingly colluding. I like that we at least have one sword bearer who seems to be like a really good guy and just wants to do the right thing. And then Hakuri points out, which is important. He says there's no blood. Are they all just unconscious? Which kind of confirms that Mr. Samura just knocked everyone out. He didn't hurt anyone. So basically what Mr. Samura is getting at is, say we defeat the Hishaku and we recover all the enchanted blades and we protect all the sword bearers. What does that really accomplish, right? Which ties into the conversation they were having previously with the other characters of like challenging this society and challenging the status quo. And Mr. Samura pretty much confirms that years ago in the war, the sword bearers committed some kind of war crime. And then once they won the war, the government covered it all up and propagated this agenda that made them look like these absolute heroes and not just soldiers. And everyone kind of took it differently. Chihiro's dad seems to be like in the middle, where he doesn't feel great about it, but he also doesn't seem to regret what he did. Uraha seems to be a little more self-confident in what they did. Like, he doesn't feel great about it, but he also doesn't seem to question anything he did. And then you have Mr. Samura, who's on the complete other end of the spectrum. He's like, he doesn't feel like he's a bad guy, but he feels like because of the harm they pose to others, the risk they pose to others, they are inherently evil. So, it's what Kagurabachi does really well is that it hooks you in for the action, but it does create this very nice discourse where it seems like, kind of a cookie cutter manga, but the characters are clearly unique from any other manga. And then the sort of meta discourse on morality is very nuanced, and that layer of the story also sets this manga apart from a lot of other Jump manga, at least so far, considering we're only 58 chapters in. So at this point, why do I say this? I say this because you still have people who think Kagurabachi is all hype and that people only say it's good because it's popular to say it's good. But I think Kagurabachi kind of just, like, it stands on its own. Like, it speaks for itself at this point. And I'm genuinely excited to see how this story evolves, because it really just gets better and better. But Mr. Samura continues with his sort of collusion. Also, I'll ask again because now we have 8 votes for the Bleach poll, and maybe a few people voted for Chad, but everyone else is voting for someone else. So I'm genuinely curious to know, who is your least favorite character in Bleach? Either you think they're the most useless character, or you think they're the worst written character, or they're a perfectly good character, but you just hate their design or you think they're annoying. Who, if you're someone who voted and it's not one of these 3 characters, or if you didn't vote and you feel like you represent a good portion of the fan base, who would you say is Bleach's worst character? All right, so we can go ahead and end the poll because we have 10 votes at this point. Aizen's chair is definitely the worst character. Yeah, there is something to be said about the way Kubo handled Aizen's return as far as like restricting his power. Although I forget, was he in the chair the whole time he was in Thousand Year Blood War? I can't remember now. Anyway, excuse me. So Mr. Sommer explains they will continue to put their lives on the line for us. Their deaths versus our just desserts. There's no need to weigh the two, is there? All 5 sword bearers, including me, will die by my hand. Essentially, yeah, until Yuhawak breaks it. That's what I thought. I do have to say, I'm really excited to watch the final battle in Bleach. I think they're going to do a really good job with it. I don't think they're necessarily going to like completely rewrite how that fight plays out, but I think they're going to do a good job. Considering how much time and effort they've put into making this a good adaptation that people care about, I think they're going to do their due diligence when it comes to the Yuhawak fight. Never read or watched Bleach, so I don't have an opinion. That's fine. I do highly recommend Bleach. Like I said, if it's not in my top 3 favorite manga, it's 100% in my top 5. Some of my favorite manga, in no particular order: One Piece, Dr. Stone, Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai, Gintama, Bleach. Black Clover is up there somewhere. I don't know that I'd say it's in my top 10. Maybe in like my top 30 or 20. Also, let's not forget that Kubo is involved with the adaptation. Yeah, I'm not sure how involved he is with cores 3 and 4. I would have to look. I know he just sort of supervises. But I'm curious. I would be curious to find out like how his involvement, to what extent his involvement fluctuated between different parts of the story. Anyway, Mr. Samura says that he's going to kill all the sword bearers, which, again, I said, I almost guaranteed that this was going to happen. And it just, based on all the vibes from the last chapter, it seemed pretty clear. Imagine if Bleach gets a new ending. So, again, I don't think they're going to rewrite the ending. That being said, considering if they adapt 6 chapters an episode for the rest of Core 3, that's only going to leave them with like maybe 25 chapters for the final core, which means that they're going to have a ton of space to work with and a ton of empty space that they'll have to fill in. So I do feel like there's going to be some stuff we're not expecting, for sure. Yeah, I will say, if we continue to see even more anime original scenes, it's pretty safe to assume that Kubo will have had his hand in there somewhere. Anyway, so Mr. Samura says, unlike the Hishaku with Tobimune, I can just slay the sword bearers and spare their protectors. And then, of course, Uraha very reasonably says, if you kill me, the Hishaku will be able to use the Kumayuri. Is that what you want? They're the ones who killed Mr. Rokihira. And Mr. Samura, I thought, was a pretty smart dude, but unfortunately, he seems to be a little too big for his britches. He seems to think he's got it all figured out. Excuse me. So, Pierrot, if you would rather want a Bleach remake or a Naruto remake, honestly, I would probably rather have a Bleach remake. The problem with Pierrot doing a remake for either of those series is that means that's staff that could be working on Black Clover or Boruto not working. Like, they need to start adapting Black Clover or Boruto, because Boruto's going on like 7 years now. Or no, excuse me. I had done the math previously. Boruto and Black Clover have both been gone for a hot minute, so I think before they announce a Bleach remake, they need to start back one of those anime. Preferably Black Clover, but as annoying as the Boruto fan base is, I do think they deserve to have their anime back. Anyway, Mr. Sommer says, I told you I intend to root out evil. And of course, Mr. Uraha makes a stand. He says, I understand where you're coming from, but those people died for me. I can't just throw away my life. And then, of course, Hakuri is feeling bad for himself right now because if he had helped bring Kumayuri, this wouldn't be happening right now. So then they clash. They say, it's just our egos. All that remains is the battle to the death. We get this beautiful double spread of them slowly turning to each other, drawing their swords, clashing. We get this very old school samurai-like moment where they draw the sword, and then you can see the leaf falling from the tree. A big anime dramatic sword slash. And then, unfortunately, we see our guy, Mr. Uruha, seemingly die, but that's not confirmed. And he says, so you're going to shoulder this alone? And Mr. Samura says, yes, nobody else has to endure this hell. And at that moment, Chihiro pops in, and seemingly we will be getting a reunion between, or not a reunion, a fight between Samura and Chihiro, which I'm not going to lie. If Chihiro fights Samura, he will lose. There doesn't seem to be any question about that. Is this a read-along? What page am I on? I just finished the chapter, and I'll talk about it for a few more minutes, but I do want to answer some of these questions. Don't forget, by the way, if you have a pressing question and you'd like me to answer it, make sure to support the channel and all of my beautiful editors through Super Chats. Even something as small as $1 is a huge step in keeping the channel going, funding videos, all that good stuff. You don't like the comedy in Bleach? I mean, I guess I can understand that. I am a simple meathead, so I like simple, dumb, silly humor. But, I mean, if it's not for you, it's not for you. When do you think Dandadan and Sakamoto Days will end? I am behind on Sakamoto Days, so I can't speak to that. I can't imagine it's going to go on for any longer than like 300 chapters. Dandadan is on chapter what? Like 140-ish? Let's take a look at that for a second. $174. So, if I were to guess, where is... That's a good question. Let me see. Because Dr. Stone was like 300 chapters. Undead Unluck is on 231. So if I had to guess, I would say probably upwards of 300 chapters, maybe something short of like 400 chapters. It does seem like we're in the second half of the story with Dandadan, because we do seem to have met the final villain, and we have been presented with what seems to be the end goal of the plot. But it's also very early. Like, we don't even know what that character is really after. Dr. Stone was like 233. No, I'm pretty sure Dr. Stone ended around chapter 305. It's going to take me a minute. Oh, no, you're right. Oh, shit. 232. I thought Dr. Stone was longer. So maybe Dawn to Dawn will probably end. I would say Dawn to Dawn would end close to like 330 chapters. Something like that. I'm tweaking? Nah. No way. No. Maybe. I wonder. Let me see. Totally different magazines, but I'm curious. Yeah, so for a frame of reference, this is like a totally random comparison. Thank you, Scarhall, for the subscription. Glad to have you aboard. 2 to 3 years of Dawn to Dawn. So Dawn to Dawn, when did Dawn to Dawn start? 20... Now I can't remember. Anyway, so for a frame of reference, Golden Kamuy. Hey man, it's been a hot minute since I've looked at Dr. Stone. You can't blame me that I don't know the exact number of chapters. Any whats. Golden Kamuy is an equally long story that has somewhat similar pacing to Dawn to Dawn in a way. And it ended with like 314 chapters. So I feel like that's a pretty safe parameter. That's a pretty safe metric for Dawn to Dawn. I'd say like somewhere between 300 and 350, probably closer to like 320. The second part of the story is very boring. Dr. Stone is mid. Yeah, respectfully disagree. There's no such thing as an objectively wrong opinion, except for those two. But what the hell was I just gonna look up? Oh, when did Dawn to Dawn start? Dawn to Dawn. So it started 2021. So it's 2024. So last April would have been 3 years. So I feel like a 6-year run is pretty safe. What? Let's do the math here. So 45. No, we'll do 48 times 3 plus 172. I would say Dawn to Dawn will end after like maybe 7 years, something like that. That would place it close to like 300 chapters. I think that's a pretty safe bet. But again, it's very early to be calling the end of Dawn to Dawn. On that note, I really don't have too much more to say about Kagurabachi. My only final note for this week's chapter of Kagurabachi is, one, I'm curious to see what this means for the rest of this arc as far as finding the other sword bearers. And two, I'm curious to see what Mr. Samura does to Chihiro. Because my suspicion is that because he looks up to Chihiro's father so much, he won't want to kill Chihiro. So my guess is that he's going to knock him out like he did the other characters. And then now Mr. Samura will be a part of this battle royale, so to speak, of finding the other enchanted blades. Will I make any videos on Air Gear, Bakemonogatari, and Tenjo Tenge? Maybe on Air Gear. Probably not the other manga, but maybe Air Gear. Right? Am I think? I always see people talking about Air Gear. Can't make any promises on that. But to, what was I going to say? We'll do one more quick chapter, and then I would like to wrap up the stream. So we are going to read the new chapter of Akane Banashi, and then we will wrap things up. If you are not reading Akane Banashi, I cannot recommend it enough. Out of the currently running Jump manga, I am also behind on Undead Unluck. I'm probably, is the website going to tell me? So I'm 40 chapters behind on Undead Unluck, so I do need to catch up on that. But as it stands right now, I would say my 3 favorite currently running, and I'm not going to count Hunter x Hunter because Hunter x Hunter just kind of comes and goes, even though it is technically in the current Jump lineup. My 3 favorite manga in Jump's current lineup, I would say, are One Piece, Akane Banashi, One Piece, Akane Banashi, and probably the third one is a tie between Witch Watch and Kagurabachi. Although, again, I haven't read Undead Unluck in like 40 weeks. When I was reading it, it was one of my top 3 Jump manga, but obviously I haven't read it in a hot minute. I would read anything with good art style as long as it is finished. I don't like ongoing manga anymore. Yeah, I can get that. I think most people at this point in the game don't like to follow things piece by piece, and they just want to enjoy it at their own pace, which I completely understand. Anyway, we'll read Akane Banashi, and then we'll call it a day. The story Kuroku performed was Time Soba. What Shigema-kun said was it was so stunning that he completely forgot about the pain. And then that's when they tried to apprentice under him. So Mr. Kuroku tells the characters that he has no interest in teaching them Rakugo. So this is interesting. I was kind of curious why Mr. Kuroku had this connection to the Yakuza character, and now it seems like we're getting an explanation for that, which is awesome because this Kuroku character seems to be a community leader, so to speak. So he explains, I met him during the war. We were drafted to fight. They sent us right into battle. I saw people get blown apart like fireworks. We ran out of supplies. Tons of folks starved out there. Death was all around. I didn't want to see or hear anything happening around me. But in the midst of pure hell, the captain's Rakugo was the one thing I heard plain and clear. I asked him, how can you remain calm like that? Rakugo is a trade about describing the nature of humanity. Laugh when you're happy, cry when you're sad. If a Rakugoka gives up his humanity, he's got nothing left. Wow, I was not expecting a chapter like this at all. So they go back to the soba shop, and Mr. Kuroku, with his soba story, has made everyone want to go get a bowl of soba. I do say, if I ever get the chance to go to Japan, I just think I'm going to eat nothing but noodles and try the like 15 different types of noodles. That was a pretty cool chapter. I like that. I really like this World War II story with the Yakuza character. I was not expecting this at all. I thought it was just going to be like, you know, he's a cool guy, so, you know, we don't mess with the Rakugoka. But no, they fought together in World War II. Who'd have thunked? But on that note, we will probably wrap things up for the stream. So the next stream will be Tuesday night. Probably, well, Tuesday afternoon. It'll probably be like 4:30, 5 o'clock, something like that. I'm not sure what it'll be yet. We might try to make it a dawn to dawn stream, but we'll see. We might, maybe we'll do a Bleach stream. I'm not sure yet. It depends on how I feel about the Chainsaw Man chapter. But yeah, that'll be Tuesday. Very different video tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that for all of you rom-com fans. And then what else do we have going on this week? There'll be a stream Thursday, and then of course videos again Friday and Saturday. Until then, thank you to everyone who turned into this week's stream. Again, earlier than I would like to, but we had a decent turnout today, so thank you everyone, especially everyone that contributed with all of your Bleach takes and all of your manga takes. Yeah, thank you everyone. Always a pleasure. Always happy to see all the regulars like Justin and everyone else. And I look forward to hearing from you all soon. Peace.